Yogi Adityanath is one of the most unusual figures in Indian politics. A Hindu monk who rose from the Gorakhnath Monastery in Gorakhpur to become the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. His journey is not just the story of an individual politician. It is also the story of eastern Uttar Pradesh, a region where caste rivalries, criminal power networks, and religious mobilization shaped political life for decades. Uttar Pradesh has seen many chief ministers before. Powerful ones, cunning ones, populist ones, caste leaders, dynasty figures. But never in the history of independent India had a state of this size been governed by a man in saffron robes. A man who technically had no family, no personal property, no individual life outside the institution he represented. For some, he is just a leader. For others, he is the protector of a civilization, a monk warrior rising to defend a civilization that refuses to fade. When a civilization feels it has been silent for too long, it looks for a protector. For many, that protector is Yogi Adityanath, the monk who chose the path of power. To understand Yogi's rise, one must also understand the violent politics of Gorakhpur. In 1956, when Gorakhpur University was established, Mahant Digvijaynath donated 2 colleges to help form it and became vice president of its governing body. The president was S.N.M. Tripathi, a Brahmin bureaucrat. This created a rivalry between Thakur and Brahmin power groups, a long-standing divide in Uttar Pradesh politics. Both sides tried to control the university, knowing its students would become the region's future leaders. Tripathi supported Brahmin student Harishankar Tiwari, while the Gorakhnath Math backed the core leaders. Over time, Gorakhpur developed 2 rival power centers, Tiwari's Brahmin network and the Thakur influence of the Gorakhnath Math. This rivalry fueled decades of crime, political violence, and gang networks across Purvanchal. By the 1980s and 1990s, the region was dominated by powerful strongmen. In 1997, Thakur strongman Virendra Pratap Shahi was assassinated by gangster Shri Prakash Shukla, leaving a leadership vacuum in the Thakur camp. Into that vacuum stepped a young monk from the Gorakhnath Math. His name was Yogi Adityanath. The moment that first revealed Yogi Adityanath's street-level power to the people of Gorakhpur was not an election or a speech. It was a confrontation. In the summer of 1996, students from Maharana Pratap Inter College, one of the schools run by the Gorakhnath Math, got into an argument with shopkeepers near the Golgar market area. What began as a minor scuffle quickly escalated. The police arrived and chased the students back to their hostel. When Yogi Adityanath heard what was happening, he did not stay at the Math. He walked to the hostel. He stood with the students. And when the students saw him, their Mahant, their leader, standing beside them, something changed. They gathered around him. Their courage returned. The administration backed down. In that moment, students in Gorakhpur discovered something important. Here was a man who would not hide behind his robes when trouble arrived. Here was a man who showed up. Word spread. Young men began gravitating toward him. The political energy that the Thakur community had lost with Shahi's murder began to concentrate itself around Yogi Adityanath. In 1996, Mahant Adityanath formally brought Yogi into the electoral process, putting him in charge of managing his own parliamentary campaign. Yogi worked it like a man possessed. Then, in 1998, Adityanath made his decision. His body was aging. The long years of politics and religious leadership had taken their toll. He decided to retire from active electoral life, and he handed his political legacy to his spiritual heir. Yogi Adityanath contested the 1998 Lok Sabha election from the Gorakhpur constituency. He was 26 years old, and he won. 26 years old, a member of parliament, the youngest in the Lok Sabha at that time. The boy from Panchshir who had finished 6th in a college election had now reached the national parliament, but the journey had barely begun. Yogi's margin of victory in 1998 was around 26,000 votes. Substantial, but significantly smaller than Adityanath's winning margin of nearly 57,000 just 2 years earlier. The Samajwadi Party's candidate, Jamuna Prasad Nishad, had pushed him hard. The SP's coalition of Muslim voters in various OBC communities was proving to be a formidable challenge. To consolidate his support and remain dominant, Yogi did what he had observed his predecessors doing. He intensified the politics of Hindu identity. Every incident, every tension, every moment of friction between communities became an opportunity to assert himself as the protector of Hindu interests in the region. In 1999, a dispute arose in Panchurkia village over a peepal tree that Muslim residents had removed to expand a graveyard. Yogi announced he would personally travel to the village and replant the tree. A Samajwadi Party leader also called a meeting in the same village. The atmosphere became electric. As Yogi's convoy was departing after his visit, supporters of the SP leader pelted stones at the vehicles. When Yogi was informed, he turned back. A confrontation erupted. Slogans were raised. Then gunfire broke out. In the shooting, a police head constable named Satyaprakash Yadav was killed. A first information report was filed naming Yogi Adityanath as an accused. Charges included attempted murder, inciting riots, insulting a place of worship, and encroachment on Muslim burial grounds. At that point in 1999, the BJP was in power in Uttar Pradesh, and Kalyan Singh was chief minister. The Vajpayee government held power in Delhi. Various political negotiations took place behind closed doors. Through the intervention of Mahanta Vaidyanath, through the mediating hands of Home Minister L.K. Advani and Chief Minister Kalyan Singh, the case against Yogi was managed. He was not seriously touched. The 1999 Lok Sabha election came. Jamuna Prasad Nishad challenged him again in Gorakhpur. This time, Yogi's winning margin shrank to just over 7,000 votes. He was nearly beaten. He understood what the numbers were telling him. Institutional support alone would not be enough. He needed his own organization, one loyal directly to him, independent of the BJP machine and the RSS structure. In 2002, after the BJP lost the Uttar Pradesh State Assembly elections, Yogi Adityanath created the Hindu Yuva Vahini. The Hindu Yuva Vahini was not just a political support group, it was a mobilization machine. Yogi expanded it rapidly, opening chapters in Basti, Deoria, Azamgarh, Kushinagar, Ghazipur, and surrounding districts of eastern Uttar Pradesh. The organization had a disproportionately high number of Thakur members, which earned it the informal nickname Thakur Yuva Vahini among critics. But the support was never exclusively caste-based. Communities connected to the Gorakhnath Math across generations. Backward communities, Dalit communities, the Nishad fishing community. They also rallied to Yogi's banner. At the same time, Yogi began holding a daily public hearing at the Math, a Janata Darbar, a court of the people. Every morning, ordinary citizens could come with their problems. The poor, the dispossessed, the people who had nowhere else to turn. They came to Yogi, and remarkably, even Muslims who came with genuine grievances were sometimes helped. This created something unusual and powerful. A Hindu nationalist leader with a genuine reputation for accessible governance. People knew that if you had a problem, you could walk through the doors of the Gorakhnath Math, and Yogi Adityanath might actually do something about it. The result was that by the 2004 Lok Sabha elections, when the BJP suffered massive losses across the country and even lost power at the national level, Yogi Adityanath not only held Gorakhpur, he won it by a massive margin of 142,000 votes, from 7,000 in 1999 to 142,000 in 2004. The numbers tell the story of what the Hindu Yuva Vahini had built, but the same years that saw Yogi's political rise also saw a sharp increase in communal violence across Gorakhpur and surrounding districts. Journalists and investigators counted 30 to 40 communal incidents in the region by 2007. Each one, critics alleged, bore the fingerprints of the Hindu Yuva Vahini. October 2005. The holy month of Ramadan and the festival of Dussehra collided on the calendar. In the town of Mao in eastern Uttar Pradesh, the religious atmosphere was already tense. On October 13, members of the Muslim community in Mao complained that loudspeakers at a Hindu religious event were disturbing their prayers. A meeting took place between local administrators and BJP leaders. In the interest of peace, the Hindu event was rescheduled to October 29th. The very next morning, just one day later, members of the Hindu Yuva Vahini took to the streets to protest the rescheduling. Their presence provoked confrontations with Muslim residents. Members of the Vahini opened fire. 8 people died. 37 were injured. Subsequent investigations pointed toward the Hindu Yuva Vahini, as having inflamed the violence. The BJP, meanwhile, blamed Samajwadi Party MLA Mukhtar Ansari. Mulayam Singh Yadav was chief minister of Uttar Pradesh at the time, and the political warfare between his government and Yogi's organization was fully engaged. Then came January 2007, and events that would shake Gorakhpur to its foundation. During a Muharram procession in Gorakhpur, a young Hindu boy named Rajkumar Agrahari was injured. Tensions began building in the Hindu community, and then Rajkumar died in hospital. The situation became a powder keg. On January 27, 2007, near Gorakhpur railway station, Yogi Adityanath delivered what many witnesses and journalists described as one of the most incendiary speeches of his political career. He declared openly that in future, for every Hindu life taken, his people would not merely file a police complaint, they would ensure that at least 10 of the other side were killed. The crowd did not wait for the speech to finish. They attacked a hotel owned by a Muslim businessman that stood directly in front of them. Riots spread through Gorakhpur and the surrounding region. 2 people were killed. Hundreds of homes and shops were burned. Property worth crores of rupees was turned to ash. The next day, District Magistrate Hari Om issued a curfew and strict orders against assembly. Yogi Adityanath and his supporters attempted to march toward the most sensitive areas of the city anyway. The police arrested him. When the police vehicle carrying Yogi tried to move through the crowd, his supporters lay down in the road. It took law enforcement nearly 8 hours to cover a distance of 2 kilometers. The Mulayam Singh government withdrew Yogi's government security detail. DIG Jagmohan Singh Yadav was dispatched to Gorakhpur with a mandate to break the Hindu Yuva Vahini's grip on the district. Police moved through villages. Cases were filed against Vahini members. The organization began to fracture under pressure. Yogi spent 11 days in Gorakhpur jail. He was released on bail on February 7th. On March 12, 2007, standing at the podium of the Lok Sabha, Yogi Adityanath raised what he described as a personal matter of life and death. He told the speaker that his security had been withdrawn. He said his life was in danger. He drew a comparison to Sunil Mahato, a JMM leader who had been killed. And then, in a moment that was broadcast across the country, Yogi Adityanath, the saffron-robed monk, the firebrand of Gorakhpur, the man whose speeches had triggered riots, broke down and wept in Parliament. He told the assembled members of India's highest legislative body that he had renounced his personal life for his people. He had left his family. He had left his parents. And now, he said, they were trying to make him into a criminal. India watched. Yogi Adityanath's relationship with the Bharatiya Janata Party was never straightforward. It was a marriage of mutual need, sometimes warm, sometimes deeply hostile, always calculating. The BJP needed Yogi because he delivered votes. He was the face of hardline Hindutva politics in Purvanchal, the eastern region of Uttar Pradesh that had historically been difficult terrain for the party. With Yogi on board, the BJP could hold that region. Without him, they could not. Yogi needed the BJP because it was the vehicle through which he could exercise power beyond Gorakhpur. A monk running alone, no matter how popular, could only go so far. But they clashed repeatedly. The RSS, the ideological parent organization of the BJP, reportedly viewed the Hindu Yuva Vahini with suspicion. The RSS has always jealously guarded its position as the sole representative organization of Hindu society, an independent, privately controlled militia-like group that answered to Yogi alone and not to the RSS structure. This was a direct challenge to the Sangh's authority. It is said that senior RSS leaders were never fully comfortable with the Hindu Yuva Vahini's existence. Yogi, for his part, pushed back against the BJP whenever he felt the party was compromising on its Hindutva identity. In 2011, the party decided to bring 4 expelled Bahujan Samaj Party leaders into its fold, leaders who had been thrown out of the BSP on corruption charges. One of them, former Minister Babu Singh Kushwaha, was even given a BJP ticket for the 2012 State Assembly elections. Yogi was furious. He said publicly that elements within the party were showing sympathy for the corrupt. He threatened to leave the BJP and run his own candidates specifically against the corrupted figures the party had absorbed. He prevailed. Babu Singh Kushwaha's ticket was withdrawn. His party membership was suspended. In the 2007 assembly elections, Yogi had demanded 35 seats for his candidates in Provincial. The BJP refused. So Yogi sent Hindu Yuva Vahini-backed candidates to contest on the All India Hindu Mahasabha platform, a direct act of rebellion against the party. And yet, and this is the paradox at the heart of his story, despite all the conflict, despite the threats and the rebellions and the mutual suspicions, Yogi Adityanath contested the 2009 Lok Sabha election from Gorakhpur once again on a BJP ticket because they needed each other. They always needed each other. And in 2009, the Samajwadi Party fielded an extraordinary challenger against him. Manoj Tiwari, the Bhojpuri film superstar, beloved across Purvanchal. Tiwari had the crowds, the charisma, the mass appeal. Yogi Adityanath beat him anyway. His margin of victory rose to 220,000 votes. The years between 2011 and 2014 were transformative for Indian politics. The Congress-led UPA government was collapsing under the weight of corruption scandals. A new figure was rising in the BJP, Narendra Modi, the chief minister of Gujarat, whose name had become synonymous with economic development and, for his supporters, with decisive leadership. As the national political winds shifted, the BJP began looking at Yogi Adityanath differently. He had always been seen as a regional force, important in the Purvanchal, useful during elections, but too volatile and independent for the national stage. Now, as Hindutva politics intensified across the country in the lead-up to the 2014 general elections, Yogi's profile began to rise nationally. He was named as a campaign face for BJP candidates in constituencies beyond his own. He traveled, he spoke, he drew crowds. In 2014, he won his own Gorakhpur seat by more than 300,000 votes. The numbers were becoming extraordinary. After the BJP's massive national victory in 2014, with Narendra Modi installed as Prime Minister and Amit Shah moving into the party presidency, the project of managing and using Yogi Adityanath became a central concern of the BJP's leadership. Toward the end of 2014, the BJP appointed Yogi as the chief campaigner for by-elections to multiple state assembly seats and one Lok Sabha seat in Uttar Pradesh. Two theories circulate about why this happened. The first, Modi and Shah wanted to build up Yogi Adityanath as the dominant Thakur face in UP politics, partly as a counterweight to Rajnath Singh, who also came from the Thakur community and had his own ambitions and loyalties. The second, the BJP wanted to signal to its own base that coming to power had not softened the party's Hindutva commitments. In September 2014, Yogi's guru and political mentor, Mahant Vaidyanath, passed away at a great age. Yogi Adityanath became the head Mahant of the Gorakhnath Math, the full spiritual and temporal heir to a century-long legacy of political power and religious authority. He was now the institution. He was now the legacy. And the Uttar Pradesh State Assembly elections of 2017 were approaching. The BJP entered the 2017 Uttar Pradesh State Assembly elections with enormous confidence. Narendra Modi's popularity was at its peak. The Samajwadi Party government of Akhilesh Yadav, despite being in power, was internally divided and politically exhausted. The Hindu Yuva Vahini launched a campaign demanding that the BJP announce Yogi Adityanath as its chief ministerial candidate before the elections. The BJP refused. The party followed what had now become standard Modi-era electoral strategy: contest the elections in the name of the Prime Minister himself without declaring a chief minister in advance. The strategy worked beyond anyone's expectations. The BJP won a landslide, nearly 3/4 of the assembly seats in a state of over 200 million people. The victory was historic. Now came the question that everyone in Indian politics was asking: who would govern Uttar Pradesh? The name most frequently mentioned in the immediate aftermath was Manoj Sinha, a competent, lower-profile BJP leader who was seen as manageable and acceptable to the party's organizational establishment. It is said that his name was nearly finalized. He had reportedly visited the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi, a gesture widely interpreted as a pre-oath religious blessing-seeking. News channels had begun running his name, but Indian politics, as always, was more complicated than it appeared. UP BJP President Keshav Prasad Maurya had his own ambitions for the top job. He was deeply unhappy with the way the decision was being made. He reportedly went to Amit Shah and expressed concern that the process was heading toward a crisis in the BJP legislative party. Maurya then did something politically savvy. He aligned himself with Yogi Adityanath, who had his own grievances about not being seriously considered. Together, they represented enough combined pressure, legislative numbers, organizational weight, and the backing of the RSS to shift the calculation. It is said that on the evening of March the 17th, at 6:45 in the evening, Amit Shah placed a private phone call to Yogi Adityanath. He asked Yogi to come to Delhi the next morning. When Yogi arrived in Delhi, he was told, "Go to Lucknow. You are going to be chief minister." On that day, the boy from Panchir village, who had once finished sixth in a college election, who had come to Delhi looking for a job, who had given up his name and his family and his future in a hospital room in Delhi, became the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, the most powerful elected official in India's largest state. Uttar Pradesh had seen many chief ministers before, powerful ones, cunning ones, populous ones, caste leaders, dynasty figures, but never in the history of independent India had a state of this size been governed by a man in saffron robes. A man who technically had no family, no personal property, no individual life outside the institution he represented. Yogi Adityanath took the oath of office and became the 31st chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. He did not stop being what he was. After taking the chair, his speeches continued to return to the same themes that had defined his political career for 2 decades. The Mughal emperors, the language of communal division, the concept of love jihad, the framing of Muslims as a political category to be managed and contained. Under his governance, Uttar Pradesh saw significant infrastructure development, crackdowns on organized crime, and improvements in law enforcement. His supporters argued that the state, long synonymous with lawlessness and administrative failure, had finally found a strong hand. His critics argued that the strong hand was accompanied by a politics of fear, that the targeting of Muslim communities, the rhetoric of his public speeches, and the machinery of the Hindu Yuva Vahini created a permanent atmosphere of anxiety for a community that constituted nearly 17% of the state's population. Both things were true. That is the uncomfortable reality that observers from outside India struggle to hold in their minds, that the same person can bring order to a chaotic system and simultaneously use that order as an instrument of communal politics. Yogi Adityanath was not a simple figure. He was not a cartoon villain. He was not a saint. He was a man formed entirely by the institution of the Gorakhnath Math, by its century-long tradition of combining spiritual authority with political power, of using Hindu identity as the organizing principle of governance.